Hey, everybody. This is the Between You and I Bad Grammar podcast, and you're listening to episode 20. I'm here with my cohort, Ryan.
Hello.
And today we have my friend, Becky Harbine, and we are going to deep dive into so many things about midlife, substance abuse, trauma, ayahuasca.
It's all really light
weed.
stuff. Yeah.
It's all light stuff. Yeah. If you need a healing, this is the podcast for you. And this, I can't even say it's so much stuff. It's stuff I love. It's my jam. It's important for everyone. And so, take a listen. I hope you like it. Please subscribe if you like what you hear. And if you have any questions, leave a comment. Or you can message me on Facebook Messenger at Carrie M. Akre. It's AKRE. And I hope you guys enjoy. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Between You and I Bad Grammar podcast. This is number 20. 20! 20. What is it in Spanish? Okay, I won't know.
Vente.
Yeah.
Vente.
Should know from Starbucks. Yeah.
I know. Venti. That's right. Romance languages. I should know that. Okay, it's number 20. I'm super excited. So today on the podcast, I have invited my longtime friend, Becky Harbine, who we knew each other in high school, right? So it wasn't junior high, it was high school. And we've reconnected several times. And recently we caught up with each other. I think we've probably said this a couple times, but definitely now with the podcast, we commune a lot on like midlife. You know, when we get together again, it's always like, how you been, or what's going on, or how's life for you, and how do you feel? You know what I mean? So we recently we're kind of talking about midlife and what midlife means and what happens in midlife or things that come up in midlife. And several things that have kind of repeatedly stood out for me is the fact that midlife is just one of those other times where like all of your shit can come up again, and you have the chance to heal it, visit it, get to know it better, or the difference in what your life is like now with all the responsibilities and the topic of substance abuse, you know, that people who never had an issue all of a sudden find themselves like drinking too much wine, or they realize, oh, this actually started much farther back or in my childhood or whatever. Anyways, we've just ended up having all kinds of conversations. And finally, in one of our talks, I was like, wait, what? This is the podcast. We need to have you on the podcast. Because these topics, I think, are big. They're fascinating to me. I don't feel like people talk about midlife. I mean, I know there's books out there and things like that, but I so clearly see midlife as a real thing. And I say a lot, midlife is not like a red Corvette, buying a red Corvette or whatever.
It's not. That's what I was going to do. Come on.
Maybe just for men. I don't know. But I think it's a real thing, and all kinds of things can come up, even a natural sense of, oh, something's not working anymore, I need to change. And like that comes up a lot in when I'm working as a life coach. And so a lot of my clients, that is why they're there. All of a sudden they're feeling like, ooh, something's not working anymore, or wow, I just hit really burnout on my job. Anyways, so I always go, oh yeah, you're right on time. You know, like, how old are you? Yep. Like, that's normal. You're not lost, and welcome to midlife. So Becky, welcome. And thanks for being on the podcast. How are you feeling today?
Thank you for the nice little intro. I'm feeling good. Already this morning, I've gone through multiple stages of different emotional states. It's constant. Nice. I'm good. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here and having this conversation with you. And one thing you just said about the midlife that just struck me right away was like, for me, it felt like a lightning bolt, like when it hit me, and just like this stunned, almost like a stunned surprise. Like, why the fuck did no one ever tell me about this? Like,
right?
Really tell me about it. Not like
yes.
fucking jokes about dudes getting cars. And by the way, that is not dealing with your shit. That is another masking tool. So if you're going out and buying a car, it's because you're hiding something you don't want to look at.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
I'm all in favor of that, though.
No, I wasn't accusing you of that at all, Ryan. But I mean, it's a trope, right? But it's just another coping technique. Look, if I get this next shiny thing, everything will be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know, and there's never going to be a shiny thing that's going to make everything all right until you go into your shit and heal yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and so many of the coping things that I think sneak up on you are like spending habits, coping, right? This numbing, the soothing, the hit of dopamine comes in a lot of forms, right? Could be like, or as you get older, your sign of success, you know, you had this, you don't realize it, but you're like, oh, wow, I'm really feeling bad based on some idea of success that I didn't think I'd bought into. I hadn't thought I would, but now I'm feeling bad about myself. Or
there's a reason they call it conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, right. Programming conditioning
that we're bombarded with from day one that we don't even realize, you know, that we bought into it, that you buy into it. It's like this unspoken consensus that we all operate within.
Well, and how to live, right? Like not only like what you should have and where you should be and what it looks like, but also
stage, right? There's all these things that are unspoken that we've internalized, like, oh, if I don't meet this benchmark at this certain point, I'm a fucking failure or whatever.
Totally.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, you know, I definitely had this at about 38 and I went, you know, I lived a few decades as an artist. And then all of a sudden the music, any art path has its ups and downs, but just like you said about midlife, there's so many things that I'm like, why did nobody, you know, talk to me more about what this looks like? I didn't grow up in a family with anyone who had led like an artist life. And so there was no education around that. Like, hey, there's going to be ups and downs. Here's how you survive it or continue on. But then I also, like you said, Becky, I don't feel like anyone talked about like, here's what midlife is, or hi, here's a book on marriage, or like what it really means to be married and what will, you know, may happen. Or, I mean, these are big things and there's just no direction on it. And so I also think that's why a lot of people are sort of like, I don't know what's happening to me.
Yeah.
You know, what is this?
And the messages we get, I think culturally, I mean, for sure there are authors and people putting out really good material for those of us who are ready to like dive deep into it. But a lot of the stuff that's thrown out there at people who are hitting midlife is just platitudes and quick fixes. And I mean, I understand why people don't want to do the deep dive because it's work. It's really hard to go in and starting to identify and recognize all of your thought patterns and habitual emotional patterns and behavioral patterns and how that contributes to staying stuck, suffering, you know, all of that shit. It's painful because it requires you to let go of all these things you thought you believed about everything, yourself, about your relationships, about the fucking world, you know, and we're now living in a moment where this is happening everywhere collectively, you know, and individually, all of our little tribal groups and collectively on the world stage. I mean, we're really seeing this squeeze.
Yeah.
And it's,
This is a real moment. I mean, depending on what group you're talking to, I mean, a lot of the people in metaphysics are very like, this is on purpose.
Oh yeah.
You know? This is either like,
it's a strong balance. That sounds like a way to say it from, you know, especially for people who are really suffering and there's no diminishment of that. But nature does not fuck around. Nature doesn't give a shit what our political ideologies are or whether we believe in climate change. I mean, nature's going to do what nature's going to do.
Exactly.
We seem to think that we have control over it, and we don't.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, and for all the things that are heavy on everyone, pandemic, you know, unrest, you know, like all of the topics that need light on them. There's also sort of a lot of messaging, depending on who you're looking at, about what an opportunity this is. Like people are really going, because I've had to isolate, I've slowed down. I've spent more time with my family. Yeah. I realize I
don't need.
Yeah. I realize I don't need to commute 3 hours a day working from home. I mean, companies are realizing this. I mean, think about all the huge companies who are like, yeah, we're never going back to the office.
Yeah.
Like, finally, thank you. Like,
it's so good.
Yeah.
With some,
especially I wonder, and of course I'm not in there right now, but it's, just the fact that there is a reexamining of what the work life can look like, or the flexibility within that, instead of this false sense of like, because I think it's bullshit, because it doesn't fit everyone. As when you're at a company and there's like a culture, it's like everyone, like propaganda, like we're all got to buy into it. And, some of it's good intention. Some of it's like, yeah, this is a collective. Not everybody functions the same way. Flex.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need rah rah. I don't like, I've never liked company meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just seems kind of like bullshit. I'm like, and treat me like an adult. Anyways, I'm segueing off of it.
That's fine.
Yeah, but see, I find this time has so many opportunities to revamp, change, not only yourself, but like everything. And
right. It goes back to that unconscious consensus. Things are a certain way, and they've all quotes, air quotes, always been that way. No, they haven't. Maybe to us, it feels like they've always been that way because it's felt static, but it's never actually been static. There's been things changing incrementally all along the way, just like it always is everywhere in nature. Nothing's static. Yeah. Everything's always working towards entropy.
Right. But it's so easy for our perception to ignore that, because we just see like these little slices of life, and you're like, oh, this is how it has been. And then you hear something like, oh, well, we've had that tradition for 20 years. Like, that's it.
Yeah. And people get so attached to those things, and they start to feel like their identity is entwined with whatever those things are, ideas or ideals. I mean, that's why there's all this strife. It's because people are so attached to the ideas, and it's real. And it's like, well, it's real because you're thinking about it and you're making it real. You could change how you think about the world, and you could operate differently in the world, and you could have a totally different experience in the world.
Yep. Well, and to your point, Becky, I always wonder too, like there's also been a hefty amount of programming to let you believe in like your material goods and what house you own, and, like your life should look like this. And, there's lots of articles around like, oh no, we've been programmed to be pretty damn numb, and this is mass disruption to that. Like you've gotten real comfy, and now we, with the now we've got social media or whatever. It's like, yeah, you've been like programmed into this spot of individualism, and there's way too many examples that are just surface level of like, my life looks good, and I have these things, and life is easy, and I'm consuming, and I'm doing, and I feel like I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like that's on purpose, right? Like, let's get you
I think it's
functioning like this.
The whole purpose of capitalism is to make us feel like whatever we have is not enough, so that we need to go out and buy more things to help us feel better about whatever we don't feel good about. Most of the time, people don't even realize what it is they don't feel good about.
Yeah.
And they can't even put it into words. It's just constant, like underlying, like something's not okay. And so I'm going to go do something out here, which then will make that feeling go away. And it makes it go away for a brief moment, but it always comes back.
Yeah. And like you said too, like no one trains you to say like, what you should do here is stop and get quiet and feel it.
The thing that's screaming at you that you need more.
Yeah.
And ask the question, like, what do you need? Is going out and buying a new pair of shoes going to make this pain go away?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah. What is this really about? Like asking that deeper question. What is this really about? Because I have done those things when I had that moment, and like you said, I had that moment like at 38 where I hit a wall, had done music, but I wasn't on a label anymore, and I was making music, but I was poor and single, and I wasn't married. And so that's what went through my head. I'm like, ooh, I'm a loser because I'm 38. I'm not married. I don't have a kid. I don't have a house. I don't own anything. I mean, really
bullshit. Like how much you bought into that concept of what you're supposed to be doing at a certain age. And you're there, and you're not able to even look back at all the amazing things you had done up until
yes. Well, for two reasons, I think. One, because no one solidly taught me like what you're doing is valid. Here's why you should make it real concrete so that you have a basis from which to live. Like I went and did music, but I would say I flew through it, right? But I didn't stop and go, Carrie, this is who you are. Let's really ground this sense of identity in some way that you can understand so that I could keep building off of it or live happily. Instead, I was like, like I did that for a while. And now I turned and went corporate. And for reason.
That's your path.
Yeah.
That's how you're learning. You came to a landing point with your music stuff and you're like, all right, I feel like this is done now. What's next? You're not done, of course, but transitioning from that phase of your music life to a new phase. And we all go through that,
Well, and part of it was the music industry, you don't have a lot of control. And I had, decades of like kind of not being in control, especially at the end, right, with major labels. And so what I was craving was structure and control. Like, okay, so I thought in the work world, you do some things, you work hard, you succeed, you get something, you win, right? Yeah. And I guess I was really craving that. I know we're all laughing like, yeah, sure. It does.
The illusion of it anyways. Yeah.
The illusion, I woke up quickly. But so that was in my mind. I was like, oh, I want structure. And so I very quickly like shoved myself into corporate, but it was quickly disruptive to me because to go from being an independent person, doing the work, having your own work that you do well to working for someone else and being in their culture, especially when it's toxic, fucked with my head so bad. Like I went from feeling like a rock star to the fat girl in high school.
Oh, geez.
No offense for ladies who are heavy.
The thing that sucks is that you bought into that mindset and
I totally bought into it.
Recognize your own gifts and you went straight to the negativity bias, which is a real thing. Actually, biologically, we are hardwired as a species to be for negativity bias. There's a fellow researcher named Rick Hansen. He researches happiness and the nervous system. And I'll send you links to all this stuff. I've just been deep diving into all this stuff and the negativity bias, and it's a survival thing. Because we're looking for threats, and it's this thing that it's like we haven't evolved out of it yet. And what with the development of our prefrontal cortex, the executive functioning part of our brain, it just goes into overdrive with the negativity bias. Always scanning for what's wrong, and things that are good. And actually, you can train your brain to start being more paying attention to the positives by. It's 20 seconds. So when you have something happen that you feel and you're aware, like, oh, I feel joyful right now. Like my dog just wagged its tail or licked my face and I have this feeling of warmth and joy. Recognize it, stay with it, hold it for 20 seconds. If you do it for 20 seconds, your neurons start firing and wiring, laying down.
Well, I think everybody can do 20 seconds, right?
Everybody can do 20 seconds. That's why they say, like, when you give someone a hug, when we're able to hug each other again, I'll do 20 seconds and like relish it, because that starts making new pathways in your brain to get you out of the constant tipping into the negativity bias. So
right. And it takes slowing down and being still, right? Like you said, be with it.
Be with it. And most of us know how to do that because we're also hardwired to react. So there's a stimuli, we experience it, we have a somatic reaction in our body, and then we have the ego function that reacts to what we're experiencing somatically. And then we usually get stuck in the ego reaction, and we're not able to step outside of that and go, I'm in pain and I'm freaking out about it, but I'm okay.
Right.
You get stuck in the reactive place.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well,
we don't even realize it.
Yeah, right. And, and at the time, at that time, a lot of things changed in my life. Like I had panic attacks. I've never had panic attacks. I had to get on medication. I also was just in a dark, dark place. Like I was working hard, drinking hard. I've never been in such a dark place. And then I started getting chronic panic and had to get on citalopram. But then I also met my husband to be, and in like a year and a half was like married and had a kid. So although that's wonderful, that was fast. And I had like a part two. Yeah. Then I was like, wait, now I've had a kid. That changes your body. Now I'm a house, not a housewife, but like a wife, I'm a partner, I'm cleaning house, like all sorts of other stuff. And it was so, my whole identity, I just didn't know how to handle, like, who am I now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that whole identity thing is a trip, how we're constantly trying to create the narrative and the image of ourselves and reflect ourselves.
And we're trying to fit in that, our square peg in the round hole all the time. It's like, I got to be like these other folks, right?
Yes.
Exactly. You don't, but you don't know that. Well,
and we're conditioned to think we have to, because it's not okay to be exactly who you are.
Right.
I mean, that's what we're getting, whether it's not overt like that, but they are covert. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and there's something about, I don't know what you think, Becky, but there's something about the slowing down and being in it too. When you're in these transitions and maybe you don't quite, when you don't slow down and really, really slow down or actively be like, all right, what is happening and what do I think about that? And who am I again? It's hard to do, I guess, when you're feeling you have all depression or other things going on, right? I'm trying to look at like the state of feeling truly lost, like mentally lost, and, trying to do something healthy within it. I guess you could do.
The lost place is also the fertile place.
Yes, it's true.
All the research shows that if you can stay in that place of feeling lost and not knowing, and suspend the desire to propel forward towards something.
Yeah.
You can contemplate, and you can ask open-ended questions of yourself. But the longer we allow ourselves to stay in that place of unknown, it's when the deeper knowledge that we all carry can start to bubble up. I mean, it's like you talk about, the retreats. You get quiet, you ask yourself open-ended questions. It's kind of amazing, the wisdom that will come up.
Totally.
If you stop thinking about it. It really requires a cessation of thinking about it, and just ask a question, go quiet. You'll be amazed. I mean,
and you and I've talked
therapy all the time with my therapist, these somatic exercises and tapping into, an old feeling from an old trauma, and like going back to that memory and feeling the triggering activate in my body, and then staying with that and asking questions while I'm feeling it. And lo and behold, amazing insights of self bubble up. And it's so cathartic. It is so cathartic to have this about a behavior you've been tripping over for your whole fucking life, and realizing just something. It's like magic. It really is like magic, but you have to be willing to go to your pain places.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why I recommend meditation, because it kind of helps you focus on those things. There's a lot of noise when you get started, because you're like, I suck at everything, but then
painful,
work it out.
But it's also so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I love that you bring up meditation in this too. Like Becky, we've talked about, and Ryan, I've maybe mentioned to you. So my focus when I'm doing life coaching and the workshops I'm offering are all about the practice of getting still and silent in order to connect with yourself, or I also say like your intuition or your gut. Because I believe, like you're just saying, like all the answers are in here, but you have to slow down, get still and quiet to hear it. And so I do workshops practicing these things. And the key things are to get silent or meditate, move from your head to your heart, because lots of people are like thinking the shit out of everything, and they're going fast.
You want to go. It's heart,
right?
When you operate from that heart, it's way harder because you're more vulnerable, but you're open to so much more.
And you're connecting back to yourself. You're trusting in yourself, which helps you feel calmer. And I think it's magical to maybe be realizing like, oh, I have all the answers. Mm-hmm. Like they're all right here. You're not lost. If you would just listen, notice, trust. Trust is a big thing, right? And feel it. Like, when you feel it. Yeah. So really teaching people about intuition and how real it is. Like, look, how does that feel? Does it feel right or wrong? And I always mention, there's a bunch of books on that, but like Martha Beck's book, Steering by Starlight. And she talks in the book about when you're going to make a decision, her thing is like, does it feel shackles on or shackles off?
Right.
And if people could stop and go, does that feel good or bad? Like I had a client the other day and we were talking about something. I'm like, she's she's an incredible worker, but that she's been all up in her head. And so I'm like, she was talking about jobs she doesn't want anymore, but it's what she knows how to do. And so she can easily go back there. And I'm like, okay, put yourself, you took one of these jobs again, put yourself there, sit there. Do you feel good or bad? Like, and she's like, well, no, good or bad, feel it. And she was like, I hate it. And I was like, that's all you need to know. Be done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be scared because you're like, well, what am I going to do for money? And I'm like, well, let's sit and think about that.
Yeah.
Because my other thing too is like, people don't realize that, like, I'm not, some people do obviously, but that life can go down in a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to go down in this prescribed way we're told. Like, you could work 18 million jobs. That's fine. Doesn't have to be one career. You could plan for 6 months. Like, you don't have to be deciding forever.
Right. But that also requires people to consciously be living from a place of the unknown.
Yeah. Amen.
Right. I mean, it's, and that's really hard to do. I mean,
scary for a lot of folks. Yeah.
It's super scary. I mean, and it's why most people don't do it. I mean, I'm exactly in that place with my work, and I'm fortunate in that I never had to work in the corporate world. I've worked in nonprofit at Fred Hutch for almost 25 years now. And it's my golden handcuffs. I mean, I love the culture. I love the group I work with. I love the individual people. I love the mission. But I cannot stand the fucking work. I don't want the fucking data spreadsheet anymore. And it's, and for me, it's always been about, well, I'm carrying all the health insurance for the family. And now that my son is about ready to launch, I'm like, oh, okay, this is the time now where I get to start really like going back to what Becky is and what Becky wants, and like recognizing like, oh, I've been in this family raising thing for the last almost 20 years. And I'm like super ready to slough it off and be my core self again and launch out, and go do crazy ass things that might seem scary to my husband, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, I always tell people too, like, you could take a long time. You could take the time while you're working to do all the meditative work to find the answer. It doesn't have to be that you rip the cord and you're out in space.
No, yeah.
It doesn't.
That's the worst thing to do, really. It's like, it's good if you have a safety net, utilize that to then move on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Move when you got the answer. Like, it's okay. Maybe your lesson right now is just to start at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And the beginning is to sit and contemplate, what would I like? What do I like? And just sit there for a year. You know what I mean? Like, get to know yourself so you can get that answer. As opposed to like quit your job and now you got to figure it out in that space.
Yeah,
like,
you don't have to rip the Band-Aid off.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that is stressful and it's not necessary,
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. One of the things we had talked about too, out of, what's easy to do, I think, in these moments in life and with, when you just, like you said, you get in this state and you're not even sure what it is. You're just like, something's not working. We started talking about all the ways you can numb yourself. And I definitely shopped to excess. Like my dopamine hit, I would say shoes. Probably, I'll admit shoes, right?
Oh yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and like literally no joke. Like I know it's the same response I have also to wine. I think I've had this forever. I will kind of obsess on something I don't need, right? Or that's not even good for me. But I am hooked. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I'm hooked and it's a moment of, I'm like, wow, you're doing it here too. In order to feel good when I'm uncomfortable. It is completely that.
Yeah. That's been an ongoing thing for me too. I mean, I've really kicked the daily full bottle plus
wine
habit that I had going on for at least 20 years. And it was about an 18-month program I went through. It was an amazing program. It's called A Positive Alternative. It's in the Fremont area at the Good Shepherd Center. They do amazing work, and it's mindfulness based. I mean, I think that's why it worked. It's all about meditation and looking in and finding about like, what is it about drinking that you think you need? Why do you?
Yes.
Without judgment. Anyway, great program. But still, I find I have these impulses and like towards using something, and now my struggle is with weed, partly because I was having insomnia so bad when I was really going deep into the trauma therapy. And that, when you start doing that, weird shit happens in your body. All kinds of stuff starts coming up that's been buried.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was smoking weed to help sleep, and I'm fucking a daily smoker now, and I'm trying to back away from it. The point is that there is this internal movement that I feel in my body. It's energetic. It's a real particular flavor or tone and I call it needs not met. And it feels very,
yes.
It feels very, very young in my system. Like it feels like if I actually feel like I want to make a facial expression when it comes up. Like I want to go like this.
Yeah.
With this despairing rage. It's like impotent, despairing rage that like my needs are not being met. I need something to make it go away.
Yeah.
And it's very intense. And, that was what it always was with alcohol. And now with weed, it's very different because one, weed is so much more benign.
Right.
But there's also this weird thing where I find that I actually learn from it. It's become a really great teacher too, because I can start seeing sometimes when I smoke, I'll dissociate a little bit.
Uh-huh.
I can completely see the reactive self and what it's doing, but I'm not in it. And it's a trip. It's like, oh, here's my body. And this organism is experiencing things and doing things. And then here's the part of me that's witnessing and watching it and commenting all the time and yakety yak monkey mind and reacting to how I feel in my body. And then there's the witness thing over here watching all of this. And I'll be in that witness place and it's fucking weird. And I'll feel I feel like I've taken my hands off the wheel and someone else is driving the car. And it's this really bizarre place of like learning to see aspects of myself that I don't usually get to see because I'm in it.
Yeah.
Another metaphor is like if you're standing next to a little miniature tornado. The tornado is your reactive emotional ego self, but usually we're in the tornado. And I've been having more and more experiences where I'm standing next to the tornado. The tornado is blowing my hair. It's making my clothes flap, making my face go like this because it's intense, but I'm not in it anymore. And I'm like, oh, hi, you reactive one. I can function in this space and not be terrified, even though I'm having intense anxiety. It's like the anxiety is separate from how I experience it. And it's really, and that's happened with weed, but since it's happened with weed, I'm having it happen more times totally sober. Where like with my husband, we'll get into we don't argue very often, but every once in a while we'll have something that floods us. And you're in any kind of long-term relationship, you get in these entangled emotional behavioral patterns that are kind of dysfunctional and, codependent bullshit. And I'm trying to unwind that stuff too. And so I'll have this moment where I'm feeling flooded but I'm able to stay in this like calm, removed place and still feel flooded. And I'm way more capable of having a healthy, healing conversation about topics that might be difficult and triggering for both of us.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, the whole coping thing. And
what do you think then? So you mentioned too, you were sort of like, but I'm a little concerned about smoking. So what is it that's starting you thinking that?
Is the recognizing the same exact impulses that I used to have when I was drinking so heavily. Okay. Like, oh, there's that same voice, needs not met. Mm-hmm. And now it's crying for marijuana. It's kind of about like this inability to be in a state of where I am, whatever it is. It's like I need to change my state because whatever is not good enough.
Yes. I can so relate to that.
Yeah. Whether it's distracting by going on the internet, whether it's by, smoking weed, whether it's eating, I went through a period where it's like, I had these impulses. All I wanted to do was eat, drink, or smoke weed.
Yeah.
Because it was just a way of repressing whatever was coming up that I didn't want to experience.
It's like every day.
God. Yeah.
But then you start seeing those impulses and you're much better able to go, oh, hi, you. What are you trying to tell me needs not met? And I literally fucking talk to myself now. I'll sometimes catch myself talking to my frightened, whatever internal, character that's trying to drive the car. And I'm like, you don't get to be in control anymore. It's like the whole meditation thing. You start seeing these movements clearly and you're less swayed by them. And you start to have more authentic decision-making abilities and just your wiser self becomes more active.
Right.
Well, I think I love what's key in what you said too. Not only just the slowing down and being silent, but the asking yourself that question: what is this about?
Yeah.
What do you need? Why what's behind you needing this?
Yeah.
And that, I think that if people can do that, that's where you can ground yourself, like, oh, this is really about, because I would say that would and has happened to me with wine. For reasons I can see. You know what I mean? Like I don't shame myself about it. I'm like, oh, because I think this happens to thousands and thousands of people. And it would be like, oh, that's why I'm doing that. Okay. Like, yeah, I mean, it's a thing to go from being the captain of your ship to a whole nother life where, one, you're responsible for a lot more, you're in partnership, you're having to work within another structure that maybe isn't great, maybe is. And that's different than being independent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so, and just even classic things like being older and I'm tired, I have a kid and all that. Bottle of wine is like an instant vacation. It's like, oh, I don't have time to go on vacation. I don't go on tour anymore or whatever. Well, prosciutto, cheese, and wine, which yum. But at the same time, you're like, oh no, that's a habit. Now that's what you do.
It's kind
as
of like
opposed to
Italy,
doing something
but yeah.
about it. Yeah, go ahead, Ryan. What'd you say?
It's kind of like being in Italy, but not quite the same.
Not really.
Quite good.
No. Well, and the truth is, I mean, I'm obviously missing, like, the truth is regular drinking of anything like that then has other consequences. And when you don't really play it all the way through, you don't see the next day, or the accumulative effect on your body and all sorts of things that happen. That's just a given, right?
Yeah.
But I love what you said about learning to stop and be quiet and go, what? And then I do think taking responsibility and moving towards do something.
Right.
Right.
That's a process in its own right. I mean, it takes so much time to move through these different stages of self-awareness and learning what drives us on a deeper subconscious level and looking at it with compassion and not judgment.
Yeah.
This is the human condition. All of us have these. Everyone experiences this. It's just whether or not we're aware of it and whether we're willing to engage with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking the time to reflect is so important. I mean, it's like as if you were treating your life like you're building a house and you just built it and then you were like, oh, I hate that kitchen. I'm just going to deal with hating that kitchen the rest of my life.
Yeah.
It's like, it's good to notice that and then fix it.
Yeah.
Get it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
there's a saying that I don't remember who, some spiritual teacher is like, you're perfect exactly as you are, but there's always room for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That kind of paradox. And it's like everything's a fucking paradox if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think people deserve, I go way, okay, so I get real like, one, everybody deserves to recognize what works for them and consequently who they are, right? Like, seeing yourself, knowing yourself and saying, here's what works for what I like, here's what I'd like to do and doing something about it. But I also think it's, I even go a little deeper and go, it's imperative that you do that. That if you believe everyone here has something to contribute, it's imperative that you get to figuring that out so you can share what you have to bring here, right? Because I think even if it's just taking good care of your family or following your, that has ripple effects. It doesn't have to be like, you've come here to be a healer or whatever. It's like, no, just your best self.
It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes it's the real subtle, small things that have profound effects. If you settle down enough to actually become aware of them.
And a truly happy person has a ripple effect. I mean, that happy person will then go be or talk to or touch another person and la, la, la. I mean, it's the long game we are not trained to live.
Yeah. It's all about short-term quick fixes.
Mm-hmm.
Give it to me.
Yeah. I'm really excited. I all of a sudden I had this thing like, oh my God, Becky and I should do a week on retreat for people when we can retreat. I guess we could do it online, really doing a workout of all this stuff and talking about it in a cohesive,
And it's kind of where I'm hoping to move into career-wise. I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
I've just been doing, academic research shit. But, just through my own exploration and my own therapy and my own journey is like, oh yeah, it's all about bringing the wisdom I've gained about how trauma and emotions keep us stuck, and how do we find the ways that speak to us individually to move towards wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what that looks like yet for me, but I know it's
okay.
It's going to involve something creative, and it's probably going to involve movement. Physically moving is a way to keep shit moving, and it's a way to release stuff. I was telling you about that workshop I did, the embodiment and trauma, and releasing trauma, and the exercises we did with gesture, and like how powerful that was. She had us do this exercise where, I mean, of course, this was all online, where she had each of us stand up, back away from our laptop, and then the woman who was facilitating it, she as well stood up and said, now I want you to back up as far as you want, but you still have to be able to see me. And then I want you to hold your hand up and say, stop. Do it with your left hand, do it with your right hand, do it with both hands. And then pay attention to what you feel in your body. And then come closer to me and the screen and do it again. And do that and come up as close as you want to. And all it was a simple gesture. And immediately I felt rage.
Yes.
And deep grief. And also this like profound relief of finally being given permission to lay a fucking boundary down that I had never been able to do before. And this was one exercise.
Right.
And I've been working really hard on this stuff for 3 years. And I thought I was kind of done with this gross level pain. And just doing this simple gesture, I was like, oh, there's still more. Okay, I've been going through the really obvious grief stuff, and now I'm touching in the unexpressed rage, because women aren't allowed to be angry. And,
oh my God, yeah.
And so movement, for me anyways, is a really strong way of tapping into some of this primal stuff that we're carrying around that we're not allowed to express because of our cultural conditioning.
You know what's funny? I think that's dead on. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody about like, I was talking about a workshop, and it was a circle of women doing a workshop, and it was really lovely, and it was supportive, and cherishing yourselves and all that. And I remember saying, like, I don't feel like I need that. I feel like I have a rage.
Yeah.
Like if I was honest, I wouldn't even say it makes sense, but like I have rage on the inside, because, you're just trained to be so polite and Libra-esque and all sorts of things, where if in certain situations or with my thoughts or my reactions to something, if I took the bridle off on something, it would be a long-standing like fucking fury, like rage, like
and that takes me to a thing I wanted to share. I had mentioned earlier about that video of the trauma release. Peter Levine, the researcher, he founded the somatic experiencing, going into trauma, and he started by researching animals and then went into humans, and was like, whoa, animals and humans process threatening events very differently. But going to what you're saying about the rage, we have the 3 responses to threat, right? Fight, flight, or freeze. Mm-hmm. And rage is such a great place to be when you're finally able to touch it, because what that does is it puts you into the fight mode, which allows you to finally move past the stuckness with any trauma. I'm speaking specifically if a person has trauma. Mm-hmm. And some people who never are able to experience their anger, they're stuck in the freeze part.
Yeah.
Fight, flight, or freeze. Or the flight, they're running away. Rage allows you to look at the thing head on and like, go, fuck no, I'm done with this shit. And it's where your power comes from. Yeah. It can also get toxic, right? That's the way you don't want to go with it.
Yeah. You don't want to hulk out, but you want to temper that for the healthy side.
You want to channel it into healthy action that is healing in some way.
Yeah. You know, it's because no, I know it's a general say like women really get trained to do this, but I remember my family, which was highly Scandinavian. I mean, I remember my mom saying like anger, oh, tisk tisk, like anger was unnecessary, or like too much. Like there's a lot of that, a lot of like, no,
Oh, yeah.
we don't get angry, you know.
We just swallow it all. We just swallow it all and we all get cancer later.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But that also, I mean, like, I think to what you're saying, that also stunts your development in terms of being able to express your opinion or defend yourself, even if it, you know, to become a person who could calmly say, I don't agree, or no, you know, like, so you become this kind of, I don't want to say broken thing that like either doesn't speak at all, which I mean, I always say if someone had met me in my 20s, vastly different lady than today. Like, you know, like if someone was mad, I never spoke. I literally didn't speak because I was so afraid. I was so untrained to have my own personal opinion that if conflict came up, it seemed like it felt safer to say nothing because I didn't know. In my mind, I was like, if I open up this can of worms, I will not know how to verbally explain myself and defend myself. And I had so much experience with people going, what are you saying? You make no sense.
Oh, God.
I mean, all the time. And so it was just sort of like, I just would feel.
They must have been really stupid then. Because I've always felt like you say what you need to say really well.
Well, I'm 54 now, so I worked really hard at that. But I would say early in bands and things like that, you know, you're in your 20s, everybody's, you know, you're having to do a group effort or you're in a relationship, you know, these are all the growing grounds, right, of where you learn to do that. Yeah. And there was plenty of times where I did not handle things well. I didn't handle them at all. And instead of, because, you know, I just at that time didn't know how to say, hey, this isn't working for me and here's why. Yeah. Because myself was not validated, you know, in some ways. When you are, okay, I'm going to get into a whole nother thing. This is why I sort of feel like parenting where you're really able and can, or look at your kid and say, who are you, is huge to me. I mean, I think it's huge, but to me, I'm like, I, in some ways, didn't feel fully seen. I think my parent, you know, meant well or all that kind of stuff. But like to be fully seen means you could be fully developed. Yeah. Uniquely as yourself. And then you could be more of you and bring more to the table and function better and all of these things. But when, you know, I get, you know, and I believe like parents do the best they can, or they have their own pile of stuff. But regardless, I'm like, I look at my kid and he knows I look him dead in the eye and I say, I see you and you be you. You're great. Don't be rude to me, but I'm like, you're great. Yeah. I also remember like in bands, I'd say in goodness, like developmentally, my personal development, it was really important for me in that band to start speaking up. Like if I was unhappy or I didn't like how someone was acting, like that was a big act for me to say, hey, at all, just to say, hey, what's the deal here? You know, like, and but what was interesting, and I'm not sure if you've ever felt this when you started to grow, my getting a stronger voice caused reactions. Oh yeah. And not just from men, from women. Yeah. People who are I think just in general, people who were just uncomfortable with anger. I mean, I got told I had an anger management issue because I stood up and said, hey, your behavior is unacceptable. And, you know, like, oh God, Carrie, calm down. I mean, instantly. Yeah. So, no. Right. So in some ways, then you go into this other, like, I mean, that layers up anger or whatever, when you're having to fight for your voice. Right. And, you know, like, it's almost like at some point I got to unvalve and be like, you motherfuckers, like, I will have a goddamn voice. Right. Well, the people who are throwing that back though, it's about them, you know, and the lesson that we have to learn is that as individuals is that we find our threshold, we find our boundaries eventually, and we stop being mealy-mouthed about it, and we start laying them down with healthy language when at all possible. And people who have been used to that boundary either non-existing or being,
much further close, they take it personally. And there's a point where I know I have gotten to, as I've been doing this in my relationships, laying down that boundary, and sometimes it elicits a reaction, but that reaction is their deal. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Their reaction. And learning how to not step into the reaction with that person is really hard.
Yeah.
You have to, and the way to do it, I'm still learning. I mean, and of course I'm practicing
forever.
with my husband, because that's the one in pandemic living, it's kind of the only person besides my son and a handful of coworkers, but and he's game, thankfully. He's an awesome human being in his own right. So I feel very fortunate, because I could be married to someone who would not be cool about that stuff. But it's just been interesting to see how it has forced both of us to step back from positions that we didn't even realize we were entrenched in. And we've actually gotten much kinder to each other about stuff. And we recognize now when we're like flooded and we're trying to have a conversation, and one of us will recognize it before the other, and we'll be like, let's just stop right now. And then we'll separate for a bit, and then it's fine. And it's weird. It's like we'll have these moments and it doesn't like simmer and hang around anymore. It's like, oh, that happened. We were frustrated with each other. It's all good.
Sounds
helpful. We know each other. We know we're going through this transition in our relationship because we're both in midlife. We're both transitioning identities. And what the fuck is this about? Why am I here? Is this all it is? Fuck. It's got to be better. I'm going to make it better. But that also requires all the work.
Well, what I love about that,
forced him to start doing it.
Yes, right.
It's like you said, my doing it meant that I was removing myself from these habituated codependent patterns. Yeah. And it threw him for a loop, poor guy, for a while. He had to step up and do a bunch of stuff that he was not used to doing mainly because I was such an emotional wreck when I first started the drinking program, and like all the grief was coming up that had been repressed for my whole fucking life. And just, I was like in bed by 7:00 every fucking day, exhausted. So anyway, my point is, it's just like, it does ripple, and the person you're laying down that boundary with, or having that push and pull of the conflict, their response is their response. You are not responsible for how someone else receives what's happening.
Well, I think that's such I really commend you both for just being who you guys are, because marriage is two separate individuals coming together, right? And everybody's got their own pocket of stuff. And I do think that's the difficult, I guess I shouldn't say difficult with that, whatever. It takes an effort to not only, it takes an effort just to grow as yourself, right?
Right.
Then you get in a partnership, and I'm not responsible for what my husband does or how he grows. You know what I mean? Like that ultimately is really on him. So, it makes me look at marriage and go like, how does anyone not survive marriage? But like, that's difficult. That's tough.
Yeah, it's work. Marriage is work.
It takes two people. Yeah, it takes two people, but you can't, like, that's a real trust walk too. So it's like, how do you remain a partnership, allow yourselves to individually grow, and then, see and understand with compassion each other's things and maybe why, but also encourage the individual growth. Like that's a bouquet of like work. That's deep. You know what I mean? That's a lot. It's a lot.
Once you kind of both get to that point where you're like, where you see it, you're like, this is valuable. Mm-hmm. It's difficult, but it's valuable. And when you think about it, there's nothing that's worthwhile that comes easy when you think about it. Most things that we find to be worthwhile require some level of effort. And usually we're like, I want to do it. And, and then when you don't want to do it, there's like some resistance going on. And then that's where you start like, well, what's going on? What's the resistance? That's what I'm working through now, is like, I feel like I've overcome a lot of the gross level shit of my, baggage. And now it's all the subtle stuff. It's harder to see. But it's there. Yeah.
Becky, do you care if we talk about that? Like go into what, obviously not in detail, but, your journey, Do you mind talking about, in some fashion, talking about it? Because you've done so much work and you have so much great insights that I think somebody else might need to hear.
Yeah. I'll just do a quick rundown. I mean, I started the drinking program. I started in 2017. It really was, my mom passed from cancer in 2014. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I had been in and out of therapy for a number of years for depression. I'd had been on depression medication starting in my late 20s and started having anxiety and blah, kind of the stuff you were mentioning earlier when you went into corporate world. And these are things that I never really experienced when I was younger. And all of a sudden in my 20s, it was coming up. And the drinking became a habitual thing. It was no longer like going out to see shows or when we would play shows, when we were still playing shows. And it just became a daily thing. And for a long time, it was fine. And it was a non-issue. And then all of a sudden, I was like, I am having troubles with this. Mm-hmm. And recognizing that like craving and all that stuff. And so after my mom passed in 2014, it was very unexpected and it happened very quick. And it just tore the rug out from under me in so many ways and my family of origin. And at that point, I was really like recognizing like, oh yeah, I'm using booze to cope right now. I was totally aware of it. And I was on board. But I also knew like it was not healthy. And in my mind, it was going to be a short term, like, yeah, this is just to get me through this period of grieving. Right. And then we also had my father who had Alzheimer's. And the plan was that my mom they were going to move into assisted living and she was going to be his caregiver. And so that was gone and we had to like scramble with my dad. And so that was like really like kind of the starting point of the transformation, even though I didn't realize it at the time. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to 2016, the fucking election happens. It's like that was when shit really started going south, like for me in terms of drinking and just like barely in control of it. And like, okay, I'm gonna hurt myself or I'm gonna hurt my son or somebody. So I went into this program and it was brutal. The first 3 months in that program, really? It's a 3-month group therapy, 7 hours a week, every week for 3 months of intensive group therapy. And, it was mindfulness based and meditation. And they use a lot of tools that are mindfulness based, meditation practices for recognizing when we're triggered to drink, when that voice comes up, and just all of the learning to recognize all of the habits of thought, like self-criticism and, everything, not good enough, all this stuff that each human carries around, whether we realize it or not, and how much it drives behavior. Yeah. And so once that started happening and I started like going, oh, look at that. Look at how much I'm grasping or avoiding something and the narrative I've created about it. And so I just started having this, it was kind of like dominoes. Like I started seeing all these things about myself that were happening internally at the level of thought and in feeling it in my body. And it was like I woke up. I'm like, I've been sleeping my whole fucking life. And I literally woke up. I had like an awakening. People call it a spiritual awakening, whatever the hell you want to call it. But I didn't know what it was for many, many months. And I was freaked out. I was crying every day, like every fucking day. I would have at least 2 or 3 just hardcore sobbing, like grief racking sobs. Mm-hmm. And I was incapacitated. I really was incapacitated. I took a 6-week leave of absence from work. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so it was just really intense. And this was when like my husband had to kind of step in and start taking care of things that he'd never had to do, like, paying bills, going grocery shopping, making food, all this stuff. But I was such a wreck that he was just in care mode. He was a stellar human being, no complaints, such a good guy. And so I was still, in this program and still struggling with really wanting to drink and just like, man. And I had been reading for a few years off and on about ayahuasca. And I'm like, okay, I really want to try this plant medicine. What is it? And, throwing the intention out there, but not knowing anything about it and how I could ever find anybody who would do it. And it was those instances where where I see all the time now, but at the time I didn't really believe it, where you put the intention out there and the universe will bring it to you.
Right.
And it has been my experience ever since I've like kind of grokked that concept.
Mhm.
Like, oh, it's actually a thing.
Yeah.
You really put your intention there and you start like honing it, it will come to you somehow. You don't get to control it. You just
Right.
let it happen. So anyway, I had been, during this time, I had been deep diving into all kinds of like, Buddhist material and consciousness research. So I dove into the research of Stanislav Grof.
Mhm.
And he's one of the early LSD researchers in the 40s before it got criminalized. And he did a whole bunch of LSD studies. And then later he developed this thing called holotropic breathwork, which is a way to put you in a non-ordinary state of consciousness without ingesting a substance. And it's a type of breathing where you breathe really deeply in and out in this circular motion. So you're kind of hyperventilating a little bit. So there's no pause at the top and bottom of your breath. And you wear blinders, so you're in the dark. And then there's a loud music playlist to facilitate your arc of your journey while you're doing this breath work. And so I went and did a holotropic breath workshop up in the Ballard area. There's an old church that's been converted into, I think it's like a universal Unitarian church. It's called.
Yeah.
But they do all kinds of cool shit there. And so I did this workshop there. And lo and behold, there was a gal there who had been doing ayahuasca at a private home in Oregon. And we connected. She gave me the information. I connected with the woman in Oregon and went down there. And over the course of 6 months, did 3 weekends of Friday and Saturday ayahuasca sessions. And it, like everything that I had been kind of tapping into with the alcohol program and that was bubbling up, the plant medicine just like turned the trickle into a fire hose.
Wow.
So all of this like repressed subconscious material started coming up, and it kind of actually tipped me into dysregulation in the sense that it put me into PTSD because all this repressed terror from the multiple mini traumas that I had, all of which involved alcohol and sex. And it's hard for me to even say that I was raped. I'm not even sure if I was raped because each individual time I was drinking and I was unable to give consent. And, it wasn't always penetration, but there was a line that was crossed. And I would have these moments where I'm like, oh, I'm loaded. Here I am again. Some motherfucker's on me and I can't say no. And internalizing all that shit. So I have many, many, many episodes of that. And my nervous system response was freeze. And that has been my pattern. And so I started seeing all of these emotional patterns and experiencing it in my body in ways that I had never experienced it before because I had booze to squash it down. And it just became so intense and stuff started happening with my body that I had no ability to understand. I had mentioned this to you when we spoke on the phone weeks ago, but I had this period of about 4 months where every single morning I would wake up and the minute I was aware that I was awake, my body would be flooded with terror and like that feeling of doom, like something horrible is about to happen. Wow. But it was somatic. I mean, there was no thoughts. I'm not like laying in bed going, oh, something. It was like, it happened first in the body and then would bubble up to my mind. Like, what is this shit in my body? And then I don't know, that would happen. I'm laying in bed and within a few minutes, I'd have to jump out of bed and I'd have explosive diarrhea. And then after that, I would have dry heaves and retching that could last for 10 to 20 minutes. And then after the retching was done, I would find myself in this extreme state of psycho-emotional agony.
Wow.
Where I literally, in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I was in my freeze, my fight or freeze state. I was reliving that freeze state from every single moment where I had been, molested or whatever. and I was frozen and just dissociating from my body so I could get through the event.
Yeah.
And so in hindsight, now I'm like, oh, I was just reliving all of that terror that was never fully released.
Yeah.
That sounds hard.
It was intense. And there were a couple of times when I was like on the floor in the bathroom, my husband's still in the bedroom asleep, and I had to like holler at him to come get me because I literally could not stand up. I was doubled over, just in pain. And then when I was in that place of like the psycho-emotional agony, I would have these, like my body would start to like twitch and convulse and all this weird shit that was happening. And the first like couple months of this, there was so much terror in reaction to what was happening that I was adding layers of suffering onto the process itself. And the amazing thing is that the more it went on, I knew it was going to happen, and I began to welcome it. Every morning I would say, oh, hello, are we doing this again? Even though I wasn't looking forward to it. And then finally there was one morning where I'm like, fuck yeah, let's get it. I'm purging some shit that needs to get out of here. Let's go in and dry heave the shit out of this bitch. And I just went into it with a different attitude. And I'm like, I'm clearly releasing something that my body has been holding for me until I was ready to release it.
Yeah.
And oh my God, the gratitude that I had, like, thank you, body, for all that you've been holding for me my whole fucking life, just so I could function and be a good person and go to work every day. And now I'm at a point where I can allow this shit to come up and out.
Oh my God.
You know, and at this point I had moved on from the alcohol program and was just seeing a specific therapist for trauma. And kind of that's where I've been since.
Yeah.
And, you know, moved on past that really heavy, deep, crazy trauma stuff coming up, and more now into a place of welcoming when the difficulty arises, which is every day, because I'm still in that place of like, I don't like how I feel. I want to eat or smoke or drink. But now it's like, but I don't do that anymore. What do I do to be with that place, the needs not met character?
Yeah.
And, you know, so it's like all the really heavy intensity is done. But now that I'm getting to the more subtler and subtler levels of the egoic bullshit that covers the authenticity.
Yeah.
It's still very difficult work, but it feels more manageable. And I'm able to get up and go out and do things now. Like for the last 3 years, I've basically been contracted and not doing anything.
Yeah.
Like barely doing anything except for the things that I had to do.
Do you regret uncovering any of it?
Absolutely not.
Right?
No way. I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean,
because I would imagine someone listening going, that sounds effing awful, Care Bear. Like, when I was like, but I bet if I asked Becky would be like, you don't understand.
I wouldn't have it any other way, because the stuff that is gained is so valuable and so better place to be living my life from than where I was before, and living in that kind of asleep, unconscious state.
Do you feel freer?
Way freer. Freer. Oh my God. I cannot tell you how much freer I feel. Like no more of this bullshit conditioning. Like I see it immediately, and I see it when I'm buying into it, and I'm immediately able to pull myself out of it and go, that's crap. Why am I doing that still? You know, it's so it's iterative, and it's like a muscle memory you're building. It's just at the level of consciousness.
That is big work.
Yeah.
That is really big work, because, you know, when you were talking about it, right before you said, you know, after it had been, especially your body reacting with twitches and everything, what went through my mind is like, I bet somebody listening to this is going to be like, does it ever end? And that's right when you said, and then at some point, the next step was you had compassion for it.
Right. Because it was no longer a thing. I started having this like dual consciousness about it. I'm like, one, this sucks. It's very painful on many levels. It's painful physiologically. It's painful emotionally. It's painful psychologically. However, there's purpose behind it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't ever come to wholeness until I clearly go into those places of shadow.
Yeah.
And we can't do it until we're able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I fully believe that everything that happened to me leading up to this moment has led me to this moment. I was not able to go into that pain until I was able to go into that pain. You know, suffering is necessary until it's no longer necessary. We learn from suffering, you know?
Well, and the somatic work, what you said about thank you to your body. Like, I don't think, right. Like, I think we feel so, I think maybe people don't realize at some point when you're so in your head, how disconnected you are from your own body. And, there's definitely a lot of compassion messages about, thank your body or whatever. But I'm like, I don't think we realize like our bodies are working for us all the time. You know what I mean? And just so many ways you don't think about. And just when you said thank you, that's such a reconnection back to yourself with gratitude and love. That's huge. That's so big.
Yeah. And that was one of the insights. That was probably the biggest insight from my first ayahuasca session was
really
a recognition of how much my body has been holding the trauma and hiding it from my conscious awareness in order for me to operate and function
right
as best I could until I was ready to start going down those rabbit holes. And then it was like, oh, are you ready to see this? And I'm like, yeah, I think I am. And then here it is. Oh, fuck, what was I doing? But the other thing to what you were saying about people hearing this and going, oh, why would anybody do that? The ayahuasca stuff, it's fascinating because it brings up the most difficult, painful shit that we've repressed. And then you go into this place of absolute cosmic love and unity.
Wow.
And it is something you feel in your body, in your bones. You grok it so deeply. And it was probably the first time. Well, I'm sure, we all have not everybody, but I had a lot of fun with psychedelics in my 20s. And that moment, like the first couple times you do it and you're like, whoa, everything really is connected,
Mm-hmm.
But back then, you're just doing it for recreation.
Right.
This is doing it for learning. It's not for fun.
Yeah.
But you get the real intensity of it, but then you also get the reward of like feeling so nurtured by the universe and by nature.
Well, when you and I were talking about it, I was like, Becky, that sounds so fucking scary to me. On the one hand, I love to learn about new things and seek it and be like, because I want to go out there. Right. But I think due to my history with anxiety and panic, I was like, induce a state of anxiety where I'm barfing and all of that scares the crap out of me, literally, probably. And I was like, I want to go to terror.
Yeah. Well, right. And that's why people avoid it. And it's interesting because I still have a lot of fear that comes up on a daily basis. And it's interesting now because the way I treat it is, and this is actually a very newish thing and just in the last few weeks, where when fear comes up, it's like what I was mentioning earlier, like I'll talk to it, but I've started doing this thing where when I feel fear, I'll I'll recognize that, I'm reacting to something that's happening in my body, because you feel fear in your body. Emotions, we feel them in very specific regions of our body. They actually have maps that you can look at, like color maps that show you the heat spots of where different emotions are felt in our body. It's all between the gut and up to the throat. It's super cool to see, like when you're scared, you're going to feel it here or whatever. But now what happens when I'm feeling anything really intense is I'll talk to the part of me that's reacting to the somatic sensations. And I'll say, what is it that we're feeling that makes you scared? And then I'll sit with what I'm feeling somatically. And there's nothing that I'm experiencing that's frightening. But there's something historic in my system that interprets. It's how we interpret what we're feeling in our body. Yeah. And the interpretation isn't accurate now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, right.
I'm looking around me. There's nothing. There's no threats here. So why do I feel threatened? And what happens when you have PTSD, especially, is the nervous system gets into a maladaptive response. So you're kind of experiencing the fight, flight, or freeze response all the time. Yeah. And that's sort of what I've been in the last few years. It's only been like the last 3 to 4 months where I feel like I've actually kind of come out of that, and I feel a little more normal as a human being. It's exhausting work.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Have you ever read the book, The Emotion Code?
I haven't.
It's similar. Just, it's a method that, I'll put a link. We'll put a bunch of links in the podcast, but this guy just has a method of narrowing down what is it. And then he has a method of releasing that emotion out of your body. Right. Yeah. Because just the same thing, like things get stored in you and they remain.
Cells. They literally get stored in your cells.
Totally. Yeah. And, I always feel like as a deep, deep life goal, freedom is the goal, like a sense of freedom. Sometimes I liken it to remember what it was like to be 5 when you just, you didn't have all of the experiences and the garbage on you and the programming and everything. Yeah. And when I can imagine that state again, I'm like, that seems like the right state.
Yeah. It is right.
Ideally, I want the state of my pets. I see like a cat or a dog. Like, they've got the life. Like, I want that.
Yes.
Yeah. We come into this world when we're born as strictly sensorial entities. We experience the world through nothing except our senses. We don't have an ego formed. We don't have thoughts about things. We experience the world only through our senses. And it's as we grow into the toddler years, that's when the ego starts forming. Yeah. And so I've been reading, trauma, of course, I'm like all about trauma because I'm just going into it my own and like learning about it. And there's developmental trauma that every single one of us has, that just because by the nature of parents being human beings and not knowing how to do everything just right. Yeah. One of the first things that can cause developmental trauma is, kids who aren't cuddled and held enough. Yeah. And they can take that pattern out into their whole lives. Like babies that don't get enough nurturing, they have a emotional shutdown freeze response that then follows them their whole life. Yeah. And one of the things I found super interesting the other day, I was watching something and they were talking about when you hold an infant, and you know how when you hold an infant and their eyes are gazing up at you and it's just like this pool of like just consciousness looking out at you. There's no ego structure or anything. And when they look away, when babies break the gaze, the reason they break the gaze is because they're overwhelmed. Yes. And that's their way of having their baby meditation. It's breaking the gaze and looking away. Naturally. And then when they feel settled, then they'll come back and meet the gaze. And developmental trauma will happen when the adult who's holding the baby and the baby doesn't want to look at them, like the adult will like grab the face and turn the face back, or like basically not allowing the baby to have their natural response of waxing and waning in the world, and interrupting that will traumatize the baby because they're not forced to absorb stimuli that they can't. Right. Yeah. So fascinating. I love that. I think I love everything we've been talking about here too, just because I think it potentially for anyone who needs to hear it can give respect to the reasons why they may be feeling something, like how complex it is, and that there are so many, there's no end. There is an end, but like there's so many layers that are real, right? And so to not discount but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. You're a human. This is normal. Yeah. This is normal. And we're conditioned, and back to conditioning, we are conditioned to believe that we're not supposed to feel that way. And that when we feel that way, something is wrong. So that just adds another layer of bullshit onto the baseline normal human suffering that all of us experience. It's how we learn. It's literally evolutionarily how we learn is through suffering. Because if everything was copacetic all the fucking time, why would we learn or change anything? That's a way to look at it, right? It's literally how we learn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Becky, I love all of this. We should put together a retreat of some sort starting online, because we'll probably, be in the state for a while. I would love to do that. I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your experience. That's a very private thing to share. But so I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
For sharing that. I really appreciate you. And I just love you a lot. I'm going to get all weepy.
Weepy's good.
Mm-hmm.
Weepy's good, right? Like, who knew I'd be the one to cry? Yeah. And so that's right. My heart is open. Yeah. My heart is huge open.
I love you, woman.
Well, I want to tell everybody we will have a ton of links. I also want to tell anyone listening, if you feel like it or you have questions, please feel free to message me on Facebook Messenger. I'm Carrie M. Akre, A-K-R-E. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. I will be happy to ask Becky or answer whatever and say like, hey, here's this. And I definitely want to talk to Becky about doing a workshop around this, because there's just so many things in this that are transformative for so many reasons. And that's my jam right now. That's why I life coach. That's why we talk right now. Well, it's everything.
It's not like we're living in a time where everybody is feeling the squeeze. So, I mean, it's again, I go back to the larger movements of the universe. I mean, it is teaching us the things that we need to learn. Like we've been stuck as a species in this kind of like track, and there's way more going on than what we've been doing. And we could be a lot better and a lot happier.
And from like your experience, like conflict and pain and things like that are not bad things. They're things that maybe need to come up and heal in order to transform.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you come away like with so much more self-love and like you can't be kind to other people if you're an asshole to yourself. I mean, you just can't.
Right. Exactly.
You can't. Yeah.
Well said on that note.
Don't be an asshole to yourself.
Don't be an asshole. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you. And Ryan, thank you as well. Thanks everybody for listening. Subscribe if you're listening on iTunes or wherever you can. We love that. If you want to send us a message in the comments, we would love that too. Or if you want more info or have a question, Facebook Messenger me. I would love that. But again, thank you both. Happy.
Happy. Thank you for providing the safe space too to have the conversation about these important, like crucial topics. I think so. Ryan, it was really lovely to meet you.
Yeah, it was lovely to meet you too.
Absolutely. All right.
See you, lady.
Bye.
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 Bye.